And so that is what it's all about. So one of the defining mark of a false prophet is that they want to focus on themselves. They want you to focus on them. And they don't want you to question them. They don't want you to ask questions. They don't want you to force at them. They don't want you to evaluate them. They said to you that God told them because they want to manipulate you. But if God told them, shouldn't you question that and figure out how God told them? Right? Don't believe it. Now, am I sowing seeds of disbelief and unbelief and doubt here today? No. I'm calling you to use your good sense. God gave you your good sense for a reason. Use your good judgment. If somebody comes to you and say, God told me that you have to give me $1,000, well, tell them, well, I have to now go in prayer and see if God tells me that. If God shows up to me and tells me to give you $1,000, I will by all means give it to you. But first, I have to hear from the Lord. Because you know what? We're all God's children. If God can talk to you, He surely can talk to me. So if He tells you I need to give you $1,000, I will have to wait upon Him so He can tell me I have to give you $1,000. And by the way, if He tells me that, I will say, dear Lord, where can I get $1,000 from? All right. And then He has to tell me precisely where to get the $1,000 that I wanted to give you to you. But chances are that if the good Lord appeared to me, He would tell me to keep your money under lock and key because that guy is a criminal. Don't give it to him. You can give it to the children in need. You can give it to the homeless in need. You can give it to the orphans. You can give it to the fatherless and to the widowed woman. You can give it to people that have real need. Don't give it to some greedy pastor who's already got two SUVs and a jet, and now he wants more money for himself. Don't give it to them. They're miserable people. Don't give it to them. But if you do want to give it to them, that's fine. That's your foolishness, but don't say that God told you to do that, because God doesn't do that. That's not how God deals. All right? Okay. So we've been talking about illusion and deception in regard to spirituality and religion. We've talked about illusions and deception in regard to eschatology. What about illusions and deception in regard to who you are? Sometimes we too fall under these illusions and delusions, and we believe things that are not necessarily true of who we are. Consider these things. You know, when you think of yourself as nothing, you think of yourself as separated from God. You think of yourself as unloved and unworthy of love. You think of yourself as unlovable. You think of yourself as worthless. Is this the truth? Is this reality? Of course it is not. We know that it's not. It cannot be the truth. These are just illusions that you have allowed yourself to fall under. Here then is the reality. It is not that you are nothing. You are a child of God. You are one with God. You are the beloved of God. And scripture talks about this in Psalm 139 verse 14. It says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. This is who you are. You are worth something. You are worth everything. You know, the Lord Himself loves you. You say, well, just you don't know what I've done. And that God can't love me. But you see, the love of God doesn't really depend on what you've done or what you haven't done. It's not a bilateral relationship that you have with God. You know, it's sort of me, my relationship with my son or my daughter does not really depend on what they've done or haven't done. I love them anyways. I mean, I want them to do the right thing. I want them to behave properly. But if they have problem, they have issue, I'll be right there with them. To the extent that I can, I will help them to walk through that. And I will love them nonetheless. Right? And this is, if I as a human being can have that much love for my son or my daughter or for another person, how much more love do you think that God has for us? Oh no, my friends. You are something. You are somebody. You are never separated from God. You are definitely worthy of the love of God. Scripture says that you are the apple of God's eye and you are the beloved of God. Now, these are the illusions that we live under. These are but the reality is that it is something entirely different. I like to continue this subject again and again and again and again and talk about it, but time will fail me. But the question that I have to ask you, or maybe you have to ask me today, is how should we live our lives in regard to this truth? Right? How should we live our lives in regard to this truth? First of all, I say, well, don't believe everything you've seen or heard. If people tell you something, don't believe it. You can't just take it for first value. For one thing, some people are liars. They're deceivers. Some people are slingers. They're like backbiters and they're like bad people. You can take their words for it. So don't believe everything you say. But also, the guidance from First Peter 5 and 8 is important, right? You have to be alert and sober minded because your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for whom they may devour. Don't give an opportunity to devour you. Don't do that. There's no reason you should be devoured. You should be clear headed. You should be sober minded. You should be very intentional. When people start to tell you stuff and start to perform many things, even those who perform miracles, right? Don't don't let their miracle deceive you. Actually, Jesus Christ talked about this very idea that when the Son of Man will come back, some people will say when he separates the sheep from the goat, this is found in Matthew 25, and then he will say to those on the left, I don't know you. Some of those on the left will say, but we did many things in your name. We did many miracles. We accomplished great things in your name. And he says, but I don't know you really. So it's not about miracles. It's not about signs. It's not about wonders. You got to test the fruits. It is by their fruits you know them. It's not by signs and wonders and some kind of dangerous performances. That's meaningless. All right? So don't be hazy about these things. Don't be fuzzy about these things. And don't be confused or lazy in your approach to life. You gotta understand that these things are real. There's illusion everywhere. There's deception everywhere. There's confusion everywhere. There's manipulation everywhere. But you can be sure that there is reality as well. I want you to focus your life and conform your life to reality rather than to the illusion that is so much a part of our culture. Every one of you, thank you so much for tuning in, for joining me. Please like, please subscribe, please hit the notification bell for me. And if there are questions that you like me to wrestle with, please send it to me. For those of you that are watching by Facebook, the YouTube channel is Ofuasia Media, as in Jofuasia Media. Ofuasia Media. Please subscribe and join us in this journey. Until next time, thank you so much, and I am out. Thank you.